it's Betsy, and today we have a fun video. We're gonna be testing out the two new Milani palettes for Halloween. So we have the Beautiful Nightmare that looks like this. Both of these retail for $14.99. The Beautiful Nightmare was the one that I was most excited about because y'all know I love a good grungy look and I love Halloween. So that's what this one looks like. They retail for $14.99. And one thing I do love is the way that the mirror looks. And then we have the Fairy Tale palette, which looks like this. Again, they retail for $14.99. And then on the mirror, this one says Fairest of Them All. Now, I did swatch these out on my hand, so I will go ahead and let you know the shade names because I was trying to look to see what kind of look I could create. I've seen a couple of people use the Beautiful Nightmare, so I think I want to focus on the Fairest of Them All, but I kind of wanted to see the colors. So we have first Bad Blood, then Bow Down Witches, Goodnight Hiss, Night Terror. Then we have Mischief, Forever Falling, Gravedigger, Ill Will, and Up to No Good. Then on this hand, we have the Fairest of Them All, which looks like this. And we have, to start off, Sugar Daddy, Booed Up, Enchanted, Ever After, Sugar Skull, Spellbound, Fairy Dust, and Ethereal. Oh, and Baby Doll, which is right here. So I will definitely say this, most of the shimmers in the Fairy Tale palette don't feel or swatch that great. Like I feel like they could have easily gotten rid of either Sugar Daddy or Fairy Dust. They're very similar. Now the Fairy Dust has a little bit of a pink undertone, as you can see, so it's a little bit more of a duochrome, but we don't need 3 mainly golds in a 9-pound palette. I mean, you look at this and it's like there's not a whole lot of depth in this palette. So I was like, well, maybe we'll play with both. And then I also picked up when I made my Milani order, because I've tried a lot of Milani products. I've had their primer, their foundation, the concealer, blushes, but I haven't ever tried their eyeshadow till now. So I also picked up the Gilded Rouge formula or palette, which looks like this. I think this one was $14.99 as well. And because I was like, well, maybe we can mix and see. And I also wanted to see if there was anything different between their, like quality wise, between their Halloween palette. These definitely don't have the most pigmentation. But I wanted to do like a pinky purple look because I am wearing, I just got this tie-dye shirt at Target. Isn't it cute? So freaking comfortable. And it's thin. Because a lot of times long sleeve stuff, especially down here where we live in Southeast Texas, is too thick. And this is like a thin thermal material. So it's long sleeve, but it's not too heavy because, again, I cannot do heavy. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna start off by priming my eyelids with the Anastasia primer because I do want to use a little bit more color today. So we're gonna test that. Just tap it in and see how easy this is to go overboard. Like, I barely put any down. I'm hoping that whenever I ordered the Gerard Cosmetics Clean Canvas because I heard so many people saying good things about it. So it's like, well, we'll test that and see how it goes. And then this is just a brush from Storybook Cosmetics. There's no number on it, but it's got like real pressed flowers in it. And the shape and size of it is great for blending in primer. Now I am toning that down because I have a little bit of leftover foundation on the back end, excuse the motorcycle sound, on the back of my beauty blender. Or this really isn't Beauty Blender brand, this is BK Beauty, because I ordered the Kate the Great bundle and I adore BK Beauty. Okay, you see how that kind of toned that down so it's not so pale? Because I still want pale, but I don't want white, I don't think. But I'm hoping that the clean canvas works better than that. Because the big problem with the Anastasia one is I don't like how thin it is. And they did an updated version of the clean canvas. That's part of the reason why I waited to order, because originally it was super duper thick and now it's not so much anymore. So I think what I'm gonna start off with is I'm gonna start off with the white shade Boot Up. And I'm going to grab a BK Beauty 201, make sure it's cleaned off. I have 3 of these, but these are like my favorite eye brushes. Like I really am enjoying the BK Beauty brushes. And that's not because this is sponsored. I bought everything from them that I have, which is a lot. I just like their quality. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of kick up in the pan, but again, that doesn't bother me. That's why I do my eyes first. I just kind of want to set this and give myself a little bit of lightness. So it is not the most pigmented white, but it is doing the job of setting the base, which I typically don't set the base, but I figured we would try that today. So I'm trying to decide, do we want to do the purple on top or do we want to do the pink? I think I'm going to do the purple on bottom lash line and then do the pink up top. I think I can work with it a little bit better than that way. So I'm going to pick up the shade Baby Doll, which is a shimmer, but whenever I swatched it out, it did perform a little bit more like a matte. And it definitely doesn't look super shimmery on the eyelid. And I know some people have had good luck with this and other people have not, so I am going to wait to form my own opinion until I have tried some of the shadows. That is like a good, almost Pepto-Bismol shade. Now, one thing I am noticing is it is kind of clinging to my texture a little bit, and it might be because this has some shimmer in it. Because whenever I'm looking at how the white looked before I put any color down, like it didn't seem, the texture didn't seem to be as noticeable. And I do have texture on my eyelids. I'm 37 years old. I'm no spring chicken. I don't have smooth, supple eyelids anymore. But that doesn't stop me from using colorful eyeshadow. But don't get me wrong, I like neutrals too. I'm a girl who likes everything as far as eyeshadows go. But yeah, so far, just kind of building it up and blending it out to see how it does. Okay. And what's weird to me is even the shimmer shade, Baby Doll, that I'm using has a lot of fallout. And typically, when you're using a shimmer shade, there's not a whole lot of fallout. So I'm gonna go, using the same brush, I'm gonna go into the shade Ever After, which is like a true hot pink. Well, it's a true hot pink in the pan. And as I said, you know, I love eyeshadows. Love eyeshadows. But, and we'll pretty much try any kind of eyeshadow. But there are certain formulas that I like better. I like things that blend out pretty easily. I don't want to spend 4 hours on an eye look. I know some people don't mind, but you know, I work and I ain't got time for all that mess. Okay, so this is the BK Beauty 206 brush, which is like a fluffy brush, but it's a little bit more dense than the 201 and it's much smaller. It's more like a dome shape. I'm just kind of going over where I laid the fairest of them all and just kind of blending it out a little bit. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go into the A Beautiful Disaster and we're going to try to use Gravedigger. See how that goes. Just in the outer corner. Because if you notice, the colors that are on my shirt, that actually looks really good. These pinks and gray together are performing better than the Melt Millennial pinks, which I will continue to keep because I'm a completionist and I have all the Melt eyeshadow palettes, but it is definitely not my favorite out of them. So, I really like how that... But you see what I was saying, like, well, hold on. I like how that grunged it up. Let me finish a thought without messing up my words. But I like how that grunged it up because the shirt isn't like, it's pinks and purples, but it's not like super vibrant, bright colors. But I actually like how that did. So what I've used so far hasn't been the worst. I mean, it's definitely not the best, but it's not the worst either. So I'm picking up, this is my BK Beauty 202 brush, which is a little bit more pointed shader brush. Making sure my brush is cleaned off. Vera Monocolors, which I've had that for years and I love that. And I'm picking up the Ever After shade again, just a little bit, just to kind of bring a tiny bit of brightness back into this eye look, because I think I'm gonna use one of the grays or silver shimmers. But yeah, I do like that gray shade. The Fairest of Them All shade, or Ever After, is not my favorite. The shade Baby Doll isn't shimmery enough to be a true shimmer and isn't matte enough to be a true matte. So far there are pieces that I like and colors that I like, but not everything, I guess is the best way to say it. Okay, so I need a flat brush. Okay, this is, oh no, we'll use this one. This is a Cuvage brush. I use this all the time to do this. Just put some Too Faced glitter glue, but NYX makes a great one. I always use glitter glue with my primer, or not my primers, with my shimmers. I think it helps lay things down. So we're gonna go into the Beautiful Nightmare, and I'm gonna use Night Terror, which is that deeper kind of gunmetal, because I'm trying to use as many shades out of both palettes as possible. And I'm just going to put that on the outer portion of my lid. Okay, definitely the one thing I can say is these are definitely not the most impactful shimmers in the least little bit. And they look very chunky on the eyes. Okay, now I'm gonna go into Forever Falling, which is that beautiful silver. And I'll admit, I mean, I have texture on my eyelids. They're not the most smooth, but this formula is definitely not helping hide anything in the least little bit. Okay. Or maybe it's just my eyes today. You know, and maybe I'm not the only one, but like, have y'all ever noticed that some days your eyelids are crinklier than others? Mine definitely seem that way. Okay, so that is the top done. Not the best, not the worst. We're gonna go off camera, do the rest of my foundation, and then we'll come back and do the lower lash line, and I will tell you my thoughts on it. Okay, so I'm back. As you can see, I have the rest of my face on. I used my Gucci bronzer in shade number 2, which is actually very dark for a 2, but I love this bronzer. Really do love this bronzer. I used the Moon Prism blush palette by Lunar Beauty, and I mixed this shade and this shade, and then I used the Midas Cosmetics and Smoky Glow for highlight, and I used the pink shade, that shade. Isn't that pretty? Because I wanted to keep the look very pink. And I used on my lips the Pat McGrath Divine Rose Gloss and the lipstick in Christy, which looks like this. So I also put on some eyelashes, which are the Eyelure Accent 3/4 length eyelashes in 005. Those are my go-to lashes. They work the absolute best for me. So what we're gonna start with is, this is the palette. So I think what I'm gonna do, this is the 203 by BK Beauty. And I'm gonna take Goodnight Hiss, which is the black shade from the Beautiful Nightmare palette, and just take a little bit of that, ever so slightly. You see how I kept that really nice and tight to my eyelashes? Do that on both sides. Which, that is definitely not a super pigmented black. I mean, it's not a bad shade, but it's definitely not super pigmented. And then I'm gonna go into Bow Down Witches, which is the shimmery purple. And I'm hoping that I can use to bring some more purple to my lower lash line. Like, I have no issue mixing colors and using shimmers as almost a matte. I just wish, like, especially in the Fairy Tale palette, I wish there were a little bit more mattes. I'm gonna go into the shade Enchanted, which is even a lighter purple. Same brush. Okay, that definitely made it look a little bit more purple. And I'm just blending that in. Uncle Fester out my eyes. My husband laughs when I say that, but I mean, that's the truth. It really helps hide any wrinkles or anything like that under my eyes. Okay, so this is the 202 brush I was using earlier. I'm gonna go back into the Boot Up shade just a little bit. And see, just lightening that ever so slightly and making sure my edges aren't bad. Okay. So now I'm gonna line my waterline. This is the NYX Cosmetics NYX Professional Makeup Epic Wear Liner in Graphic Purple. And for the Epic Wears, they tend to be a little bit stiffer than the ColourPop. So what I like to do is rub them on the back of my hand first. And that kind of helps warm up the pigment. So that way I get a little bit more purple. If not, they feel a little stiff. Like I definitely prefer the ColourPop liners over the NYX ones. Okay, let's add a teensy bit of mascara. This is the Pat McGrath Fetish Eyes Mascara. A tube of mascara that I'm trying to finish up. Okay. There we go. Now, last but not least, let's do something in the inner corner. So I'm gonna grab my BK Beauty. This is the 207 brush. It looks like this. I love this pencil brush. And I think I'm gonna spice it up and go into the Spellbound color. Spray it. And use this in my inner corner. Okay, I like that as my inner corner. Okay, so let's talk about these palettes because I decided not to use any from that Milani palette. So these are the only two that I used. So they're okay. They're nothing grand. They're nothing to write home about. There are several indie brands that have this similar color story that's done so much better in my mind. Like the Howling for You by Rouge Labs. Beautiful color story. I mean, that has more oranges in it. But this is still an inexpensive palette. The Pretty Hearts Ritual palette has that purple and lime green in it. Oh, I just dropped my eyeshadow palette. And there was another one. What other one did I use? I have so many palettes, it's so hard to remember which ones are which. Let's see. Oh, and then this one. This is the Spoiled Cosmetics. Still some of that purple, and it just performed better. So, yes, I think that these are okay. They're nothing to write home to mom about. They're nothing spectacular. I was able to get a pretty look out of it, but it's definitely not my favorite palette or formula. I will probably won't reach for these again. So do I think they're worth it? No, definitely not. I mean, if I were gonna reach for it again, maybe, but I can get this look a whole lot easier with shadow formulas that I prefer. So I don't think they're worth the $15 each. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button right down below. And if you hit the notification bell icon next to it, that will notify you when I post new videos, which is typically Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But with all of the new cosmetics that have come out, I have definitely been posting a lot more. So, and I will probably continue to post a lot through Christmas because, you know, we're inundated by makeup. And the spring and the summer were so slow. So it's getting to pick up. But I guess that's it. Don't forget to check me out on all my social media. Everything's linked down in the description box. But I guess that's it. So we shall see you later. Bye.